Chapter 5. Lines in the Sand. The silence in the elevator ride back to the penthouse was a physical entity, a third passenger pressing in on them. It was a dense, heady thing, woven from the ghost of a kiss, the adrenaline of a near disaster, and the shocking, undeniable current that had passed between them in that sterile corporate hallway. Back inside their gilded cage, the enormous space felt suffocating. The panoramic city lights, once breathtaking, now felt like a million prying eyes. Evie walked straight to the kitchen island, her movements stiff. She needed a task, an anchor in the storm that was churning inside her. Data analysis, that was her territory. Damian ripped his tie off with a single, violent tug, throwing it onto a chair. He stalked to the wet bar and poured 2 fingers of whiskey into a heavy glass, downing it in one go. The sound of the glass hitting the granite counter was like a gunshot in the quiet room. "The bug is active," Evie said, her voice sounding unnaturally loud. She tapped at the encrypted tablet, her fingers flying across the screen, her focus absolute. It was a relief to retreat into the familiar world of code and signals. "The audio feed is clean. We need to start transcribing and analyzing Croft's conversations immediately." Damon came to stand on the other side of the island, his presence radiating a restless, aggressive energy. He leaned forward on his knuckles, his powerful shoulders bunching under his white shirt. The memory of her hands gripping those same shoulders, of his body pressed hard against hers, flashed through Evie's mind. She forced it down. "Your diversion was sloppy," he said, his voice a low growl. "You engaged the assistant for too long. If I hadn't found that alcove, the new guard would have walked right into me." Evie's head snapped up. The accusation, so profoundly unfair, was the spark that lit the fuse. "Sloppy? I saved you," she retorted, her voice dangerously quiet. "That guard was off-pattern, an unscheduled variable. I had less than 10 seconds to react. I improvised under pressure and neutralized the threat. I seem to recall that being your area of expertise." "Neutralize the threat by kissing me?" He scoffed, though the sound lacked its usual conviction. His gray eyes were dark, turbulent. Risky gambit, Doc. Could have given them more to be suspicious of, not less. "And what would your solution have been?" she shot back, pushing away from the tablet and giving him her full attention. "The data could wait. This couldn't. Would you have shot him? Broken his neck in the hallway? Your brand of problem-solving would have ended the mission right then and there." "My brand of problem-solving keeps me alive," he snarled, hitting the island with the flat of his hand. The tablet jumped. "No, my brand of problem-solving kept you alive today." The words erupted from her, hot and furious. The professional dam she had so carefully constructed crumbled. "This isn't about the guard, is it? This is about the fact that my plan worked, that the nerd got you past the gates, and when things went wrong, she was the one who pulled you out of the fire. You can't stand it." She rounded the island, closing the space between them until she had to tilt her head back to look up at him. The air was electric, thick with the fallout from their kiss. It was the only thing in the room, the unspoken truth fueling every word. "That's it, isn't it?" "The kiss." Her voice dropped, becoming sharp and accusatory. "You can't stand that for 30 seconds. You weren't in control. You weren't the lone wolf, the unstoppable force. You were just a man, trapped, and I was the one who had to make the move." "Don't flatter yourself," he bit out, his jaw clenched so tight a muscle jumped. "I'm not. I'm analyzing," she said, her Pro-Force mind taking over, cutting through the emotional haze. "This goes deeper. It has from the very beginning. So I want you to tell me why." He stared down at her, his expression a mask of fury, but his eyes were cornered, trapped. "Why do you do it?" she pressed, her voice unwavering. "Why do you relentlessly, methodically, attack every single one of my insecurities?" "You do it with surgical precision, Damien." "I'm a nerd. I'm wound tighter than a watch spring. I'm a liability who will break a nail and get us both killed. You zero in on the exact things you think will undermine my confidence." "Why? What part of me threatens you so badly that you have to constantly try and tear it down?" He flinched as if she had physically struck him. He straightened up, turning away from her and paced to the window, presenting her with his rigid back. He gripped the back of his neck, his knuckles white. You don't know what you're talking about. His voice was rough, strangled. I know exactly what I'm talking about, she said, her voice softening slightly but losing none of its intensity. I'm a pro for. It's what I do. And your profile is screaming at me. Your antagonism isn't strength. You said it yourself. It's a defense mechanism. So I'm asking you again. What are you defending yourself from? He was silent for a long moment, the only sound his own harsh breathing. The city lights cast his powerful frame in silhouette, a dark, lonely figure against a backdrop of a million distant lives. Evie waited, her heart hammering. This was it, the real line in the sand. Finally, he spoke, his voice so low she barely heard it. You. He turned around slowly. The fury was gone. The arrogance, the mockery, the carefully constructed armor of the demon, it had all been stripped away. In its place was a raw, shocking vulnerability that gutted her. His gray eyes were bleak, lost. You really want to know? He asked, his voice cracking. It's because you're the first person in a decade who's managed to get under my skin without a knife. It's because I can't get a read on you. It's because you're smart. Not just book smart, your mind. Moves in ways I can't anticipate. It's a weapon, and it's one I don't know how to fight. He took a step towards her, his expression ragged with the pain she didn't understand. My whole life I've survived by being stronger, faster, or meaner than everyone else in the room. I can dominate any threat I can see. But I can't dominate you. I can't intimidate your intelligence. All I can do is push at it, rattle the cage, hope I can throw you off balance so I can get my own footing. He stopped, barely a foot away from her now. The air between them was thin, precious. I try to make you feel small, he confessed, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper of self-loathing, because when I'm around you, I feel like I'm coming apart at the seams. This feeling, this goddamn attraction, it's a liability. It's a weakness I can't afford. His gaze dropped to her lips, and the memory of the kiss flared between them, hot and undeniable. And that kiss, he breathed, his eyes lifting back to hers, filled with a desperate, terrifying honesty. That wasn't for the guard. Not for me. Not after the first second. It wasn't a lie. And that's the part that's going to get us killed. The confession hung in the air, a stunning, world-altering truth. The foundation of hatred and animosity they had built their partnership on had just been obliterated, leaving them stranded and exposed on terrifying new ground. The walls were down, the lines were gone, and all that was left was the raw, undeniable, and catastrophic truth of their connection.